Hello, morning. Just on the road today. Just sold the CRF 250 rally to David in Wiltshire, so just taking it over to him now. I just thought I'd do a bit of an exit video on the CRF 250 rally. So it was one of the bikes I bought 2020 with a bounce back loan to set up the A2 test days. So I got the CRF 250 rally, GS310, KTM 390 Adventure, and a Himalayan for people to ride back to back. I picked it up for £4,400. It was done 600 miles, 2020 bike. It was one of those bikes that had been bought by an older gent. He probably thought it'd be a perfect bike for him to potter around the back lanes and stuff, and I think he soon found it was a little bit too tall and maybe not suited to the type of back road pottering that he bought it for. And I think that's the reality of the CRF 250 L and the Rally, that they are trail bikes, and I think if you're not doing trails on them, they don't make always a lot of sense. And it's same with so I'm selling it because I replaced it with a 300 Rally, and that's the same. That was a 700 mile second-hand bike that somebody had bought and realised that actually it wasn't the back road plodder that they maybe expected. Obviously got this taller seat height and the bench seat and things, which don't necessarily lend themselves to back road pottering. But as a trail bike, it's good. This one has been no problem. It's done 4,000 miles. It's probably had 120 different riders on it this last year or so. That might sound as though it's been abused, but they've always been in a guided condition. So speed has never been daft, and off-roading has always been gentle. For me, what I've liked about it is its easy serviceability. It's never caused me really any problems. A few times it's just struggled to start in the morning when it's been laid up, which is I guess just one of those things. But once it's got bump started or charged, it's been fine. Large service intervals, 8,000 miles. Tyres, I've got MT21s on it now. The IRCs, the stock ones, lasted till about 3,000 miles on the bike, and then I replaced them with these MT21s, which I think are probably better off-road, but as an all-round tyre for road off-road, I probably prefer the IRCs, I've got to be honest. If it wasn't for the fact the IRCs are hard to or expensive to get hold of, I'd probably have put another set on, because I just think they work good on the road. This one's got the lowering link on the rear. I'm not entirely sure exactly how many millimeters it reduces. I'm going to say that much, but the CRF's always got a lot of sag in it as standard anyway. So the 300 that I've got is stock height, and that looks monstrously tall. But when you sat on it, I'd say it's got like an 895 millimeter seat height when it stood stationary with no rider, and probably about an 840 mil seat height when you sat on it. So actually the seat height of the CRF 300 Rally sat on it is about the same, or even less than the KTM 390 Adventure, which you would not probably think to look at. But it just shows what kind of soft undersprung suspension Honda put on the bike as standard, and that is what lets both the CRFs down a little bit. This with the lowering link lowers it even further, so it's made it so even riders about 5'6", 5'7" can get a good comfortable foot down. The problem with the lowering link is it does lower the arse out of it, so it sits very low at the back and quite high at the front. Even though the forks have been dropped through, the forks can only go so far before they hit on the bottom of the handlebar. And without putting risers on, you're never going to solve that. And then by putting risers on, you're changing the ergonomics again. So I think it means that the back sits quite low on this lowered version, and it means that you're almost dragging it around corners on the road, and it makes the front end feel quite light. So I'm not sure fitting a lowering link to a CRF is necessarily a good thing for the dynamics of the bike. In terms of CRF 250 versus 300, I think I've probably had about 20 people ride the two back to back now, and I think unanimously they say the 300's a better bike. I've had a friend who grumbles about that and doesn't think that's quite right. The 250's the better bike or whatever, or maybe over egging the improvement of the 300. But I think from feedback from people who are riding them back to back on the same roads and the same conditions, the 300 just has more torque. It has more usable power when you want it. So for road work, it's just easier. It feels less strained. It feels like you don't have to rev it so much, or it doesn't feel quite as gutless in that mid-range. Now, that's not to say the 250 is a bad bike. It's just when you ride them back to back, you notice the improvement. If you ride the 250 in isolation, actually it's perfectly good bike, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the 300 just has more roll-on power in 6, so sort of from 60 to 70 mile an hour feels quite stronger. And then I think the gearing change to make first and second lower and 6 taller means it's just more usable on the trails. You can use second on the 300, where you need to drop down to first on the 250, unless you change the gearing, but then you ruin it at the top end, which is what the 300 has done a good job of, sort of matching a taller 6 and a lower first and second. So the 250, I think it will go down as a good bike in the motorcycling history of time, certainly from a sub 47 brake horsepower category. I think the L, when it came out in 2012, it was a slow burner. I think it came out, nobody at that point was really interested in lightweight adventure bikes quite so much, and if they were, they wanted something a bit more extreme, lighter, more powerful, KTM probably. But I think as the population of motorcycling cyclists continue to age, and people are looking for bigger, better value in their bikes, I think the 250 L and the Rally have certainly started to climb in popularity for Honda. It's a shame that Kawasaki's discontinued the KLX, because that could have stood rival toe to toe with it, but for whatever reason, people sort of migrated towards the Honda rather than the Kawasaki, even though arguably the Kawasaki's got better suspension, and it comes in at an even cheaper price because they're not as such in demand. So that's it. It's going to get dropped off. I'm just going to show you, people are always curious about the van and things, and also I'll just show you the side view of the van, of the bike even. Wait a second. So it's a Citroen Dispatch. .9 diesel disability van, so it's got the ramp access down there. I don't know if you can see it. So it's just got the tie downs for actually for wheelchair. The eyelets are for a wheelchair, but they do seem to hold a bike down. So yeah, the 250, to say it's had 4,000 miles of multiple people's use, it's still cleaned up really well. I did put some plastic tape over the panels to keep that fresh, because it's very easy to kick this when you're getting on and off it. So that's well protected. I do have the engine guards, which were set from Poland, £100 they were to go on, which just protect this, which is probably not a bad idea. But all in all, a fine bike. Just needs that rear suspension, I think, sorting. I know there's various options, and that's my only criticism of it, really.